Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara. Why is it so dark? Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Oh, this light has gone. Just a minute. I don't know why this light has gone. That's why it is looking dark. Om Narayan, Narayana. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Iga now we let us discuss a short, maybe 30-40 minutes of Mulavidya Nirasa. So in yesterday we discussed, I think yesterday only? Yeah, yesterday only we discussed, or day before I think. Ekiya Samadhanam. Somebody, means the Mulavidya, advocate of Mulavidya, the Mulavidya Vadi, follower, was giving an answer to common man. What did common man say? That the world exists in all three states. In two states it is clearly visible, but even in deep sleep, the world doesn't come to an end. It only remains in some seed form. In some seed form it remains. Now he is trying to argue that the world doesn't totally go away in deep sleep. So he implies that the states which we have, waking, dream and deep sleep, these are the only three states we have, because we have no other state. Or even if we have other states, all of them are similar to these three. They can be reduced to these three and nothing more. That we will come more details. So he is trying to show that the states which we have, in none of these states you can see Atma independent of the world. So there is no experience in our life when you are free from the world and you alone remain non-dual. So that non-dual Atma is not a matter of our experience, because our experience is all the time, our experience is always of dual only, duality only, either in waking or in dream, even in deep sleep. The particularly he is holding on even in deep sleep. Even in deep sleep, the Atma is only dual. That means it is associated with a world. Atma is never free from the duality, never free from the world. World or duality both are same. The world of duality we call them. World and duality both mean the same. So the Atma is never free in our experiences. So in our three states, waking, dream and deep sleep. So that means we have all throughout our, they say this is an ajnana state. So throughout our ajnana state there is only duality. So that non-duality is a totally a new experience we have to get. This is what he wants to say. You don't have the experience of non-duality right now. It is an experience yet to come. Therefore, by examining the three states, you can't prove non-duality of Atma. Who says this? Advocate of Mulavidya, Mulavidya Vadi. He says non-duality of Atma is not experienced right now. It is a new experience yet to come. This is the difference. Shankara's Prakriyas or Gaudapada Shankara Sachidananda Swamiji's Prakriya, sushupti is a direct experience of Brahman. Even waking is a non-dual Brahman. Dream is a non-dual Brahman. You are continuously, you are always non-dual Brahman. There is no time you are not non-dual. There is a non-dual experience all the time. Only thing is your attention is focused on duality. I mean your thought, your attention is focused on a thought. Therefore, it looks as it were your attention is diverted. That's all. Your attention is diverted. You are just ignoring that non-dual aspect. It is there, but you are ignoring it. Your mind is preoccupied with duality. So you just set aside the preoccupation. Non-duality is already there. Therefore, sushupti is not a state. Sushupti can be looked at in two ways. One, it as a state, another is as a nature of Atma. Okay? But if you look at it as a state, it is okay, it's a natural, anybody sees. Common man sees sushupti as a state of rest within the world. See, three levels. Common man sees sushupti as a state of rest of the body, mind and sense organs. It is a state of rest of body, mind and body, mind. Body, mind is resting. That means body, mind are there. They are in the world. So world is there, body, mind are there, they are only resting. This is a common man's thinking. So Mulavidyavadi's thinking, which represents almost many other schools of philosophy, many other schools of Indian philosophy. West, I don't know, I have not studied them. So except a few ideas here and there, I don't know much. So I can't say anything about them. So, common man's thinking is sleep, deep sleep is a state of resting for mind and sense organs, my body, mind and sense organs. That means body, mind and sense organs are there. They are only non-functioning, that's all. They are present, but in a state of rest and not functioning. But Mulavidya Vadin's prakriya is world gets compressed, goes into a very minute state, very abstract state. Okay? The whole world gets compressed, goes into a very abstract state. World doesn't disappear totally, but it assumes a very a compressed small form, very rudimentary form. But it belongs to the world alone. Then he says he sees deep sleep as a state similar to the waking and dream, comparable to waking and dream. He sees the deep sleep as a state comparable, that means it belongs to the same level of waking and dream. It belongs to the same level of waking and dream. Same level means what? From waking you go to sleep and again you come back to waking. You go to sleep, again you come back to waking. That means waking and deep sleep are interrelated as abstract and concrete, or as a cause and effect, or it is an expanded form and compressed form. That's all. So deep sleep still belongs to the world alone. It is related to the world in some manner. Okay. It ranks with the waking state alone. But Vedanta has to say something different. Upanishad, Gaudapada Karika, Bhashya and Swamiji, they have to say sushupti is not a state. It is not comparable. It doesn't rank with waking and others, waking and dream. It is a stateless. Sushupti is taken to be a state is a wrong thing, because sushupti is nameless, formless, timeless. It is a non-dual experience. How can a non-dual experience be, a non-dual experience can constitute a state related on par with waking? On par with waking. It is not on par with waking. It is totally unrelated to waking. It's an independent on its own. Okay? Sushupti as an experience. Sushupti means as you are in deep sleep. Then you are not rhyming with waking. Waking doesn't exist. then deep sleep is not a compressed state. It is not a causal state, because waking and causal state, both of them don't exist. It is non-dual, all-pervasive. It is totally independent by itself. If you look at sushupti as you are in sushupti, okay? Sushupti as you are in sushupti. Don't imagine. If you imagine, then your mind comes. Mind generally unable to catch the non-dual experience of deep sleep. Mind unable to catch the non-dual experience of deep sleep. It thinks it is a blank. What does mind do? See, when the mind is unable to understand deep sleep, mind should drop off. That is a sincere way. What you don't understand, simply admit, I am unable to understand. I myself am unfit. Let me drop off. That is a simple, humble way. But the human mind, unable to understand deep sleep. Why unable to understand? Mind cannot grasp it. Why? It's not within the graspable reach of mind. Sushupti is not within the graspable reach of mind. It is not within the reach of mind. Mind itself is incapable. Mind falls off. Mind doesn't exist. How can mind think of deep sleep where itself doesn't exist? Okay, when mind itself ceases, it can't grasp it. It can't imagine. If yet mind tries to imagine, then since it doesn't get anything for its grasp, it thinks it is a blank. Mind thinks it is a blank. It is dark. Therefore, mind thinks of deep sleep as a dark, as darkness or blank, something like that. It is a mind's imposition. It is a mind's interpretation of deep sleep. But who asked the mind to interpret? When the mind cannot reach deep sleep, it just doesn't know. Why don't you admit that I cannot reach, I don't know, let me drop out? You get dropped out. You don't imagine. You don't give a name what you can't understand. It is something like somebody speaking in French, which I don't know. When I don't know, I simply keep quiet. Should I? Am I supposed to keep silent? What I don't understand? But it tries to interpret. It tries to interpret. Then you ask, do you know French? I don't know, but I am trying to know. How? I am trying to interpret. How can you do? I see some people, some very strange people. I was giving Vedanta talk somewhere in Hyderabad, in Telugu. So a new person, one day suddenly a new person came. He is a professor in some subject somewhere in Delhi University. He attended the talk. At the end of the talk, he says, hey, what is that all this meaningless talk you are talking, he says. Something he just criticized. What is the use all this only chatting, it's all gossiping. What is the use? One needs an experience of it. What is the point in talking and all that? Then at the end of only one side he kept on criticizing. I'm just silently listened. Again he says, I may be wrong. I might have misunderstood. He says this, but again criticizes. I may be wrong, but still he criticizes. What does he mean? He is not sure of what is he talking. He himself doesn't know what he is. But he will not stop talking. He will not stop talking. He doesn't know, but he won't stop talking. He doesn't stop commenting, which he himself admittedly doesn't understand. Okay? It doesn't stop talking about something which admittedly he doesn't understand. He admits that he doesn't understand. Then why do you talk? This is a peculiar thinking I think I have never seen in India. I never seen in India. I have never read in any of the books. Probably it must have come from Europe. You don't know. You don't understand. You can't understand. But still you will not stop commenting about it. Because you want to suppress it. Without understanding, you want to comment about it. Nowadays you see them, all politicians talk like that. Without understanding, they talk of it. When you ask him, are you expert in it? No, I am not expert, I don't know. When you don't know, then why do you speak? Yes, I have a right to speak. An ignorant man who doesn't know the thing has a right to speak. If you want to learn, if you don't know, better keep quiet. Okay? But he says, I don't know. He admits he doesn't know. Why he admits you? Do you know that? There is a very cleverness in it. He doesn't know. When you don't know, better keep quiet. But he doesn't keep quiet. Okay, if you don't keep quiet, you criticize, then why do you say in between, I don't know yet why do you say? Because if you criticize, that will come to rescue. I admitted already I don't know. Why are you criticizing me? So he will criticize you without understanding. And he admits that I don't know. I don't know your topic, and he admits that I may be wrong. I may be wrong, yet I will not stop criticizing. I may be wrong, still I could say what you are telling is wrong. See, I may be wrong in my criticism, but yet I will not stop. What is the purpose? He wants to criticize. The criticism others should listen. They should take seriously. Scandal should go on. If you question him, what right you have got to say? He says, I admitted that I don't know. So, to escape the punishment, to escape accountability, he talks. And he knows he is not fit to talk, but he talks. He wants to create scandal. He wants to talk negatively about a person. But if you ask for him when you don't know the subject, why do you speak? He says, I admitted that I don't know. What is this? This is nothing but intellectual terrorism and arrogance it is. It is arrogance and intellectual terrorism. This is like a mafia gang talking. But the media is there. We have got a big mind. It is something like people say that we have got a mouth big. Media means mouth, big mouth. The topic is, the knowledge is less. He doesn't know much. He is not expert in any topic. He doesn't know much, but he will not stop speaking. He will speak. This is called unnecessarily spoiling the whole atmosphere by talking nonsense. And admit that you don't know. And still you won't stop talking. This is the kind of thing, the modern society, I think mostly it must have come from Europe. This is a big nuisance. It is a curse on humanity. Such type of talking is a curse on humanity. Anyway, so mind doesn't know the deep sleep, because mind is the world. Mind is a thought. Mind, thought, the world, all the three are one. Mind, thought, the world, because they exist same level. That means all the three are one. So when there is no mind, there is no world. So deep sleep is not a state which mind can think of as blank. Mind cannot imagine it to be blank, because mind has no place. Mind doesn't exist. Then let the mind not talk. Mind has to remain silent. Then mind goes away. Mind drops off. What remains is the consciousness alone. That is anubhava we are talking of. Okay? It is the direct Atma anubhava. Anubhava means Atma only. Atma anubhava, Atma are not two things. Atma's self-existence is Atma Anubhava. Atma alone, all alone, non-dual. Therefore, we say, Upanishad says, Gaudapadacharya says, deep sleep is you alone, you are alone without anything else other than you. So it is a direct experience. Generally, you are from the waking state. Your identification with the waking state is instinctive. So whenever you look at your deep sleep, you always retain a part of mind and look at it, either with comparison or contrast. Comparison or contrast with the mind alone, with the world alone. Here, Vedanta is pointing out, you look at the deep sleep as yourself, neither comparison nor contrast. Don't think of the world because it doesn't exist. Not that you have come from the waking world to the deep sleep. You have not come from elsewhere. You are here alone. You originally belong to deep sleep. You have not come from elsewhere. Nor you will go elsewhere, because you can't give up yourself. You can't give up yourself and go elsewhere. You can't cease to be yourself and become somebody else. Nobody can do that. Nobody can cease to be himself and become somebody else. Only Hindus in India can do that. Hindus in India are like this only. They all talk like as if anti-Hindus, as aliens, as Christians or Muslims, they talk about Hinduism. Hindus behave as if they are non-Hindus and talk about Hinduism, criticize Hinduism. Most of the fellows, modern, educated, secularist, communists, even the Muslims, Christians, they were all Hindus alone, converted Hindus. They all talk nonsense, because they have become alienated from themselves. This alienation to themselves is adhyaropa. The real alienation cannot happen. Alienation means what? You going away from yourself, you are not yourself. But that can never happen. But it happens. That is only a false thinking. Really, it doesn't happen. It is a false thinking, attributed thinking, imposed thoughts. In reality, it can never happen. How can you lose yourself? Nobody can ever lose. You are you. That is a self-existing fact. Therefore, sushupti is self-existing. It is not a state resulting from the waking state. From the waking state, you have not arrived at deep sleep. Deep sleep is not a state arrived from the waking state. Nor you go to the waking state from the deep sleep. From deep sleep, neither you can go elsewhere nor you have come from elsewhere, because there is nothing other than deep sleep. There is no elsewhere at all. Elsewhere is an imaginary thought. It doesn't exist. Something else, the thought of else doesn't exist at all, because sushupti is all. Sushupti is non-dual and everything. When sushupti is non-dual and everything, there is no such thing called other. Where is other? Other and else doesn't exist for deep sleep. Okay. Therefore, here there are three ways of looking at deep sleep. One is a common man's view, another is Mulavidyavadins, third is the Vedantins' view, Siddhantins' view. One is a Purvapaksha view, another is Siddhantins' view. So, just let me summarize them, what I have discussed so far briefly. Common man thinks that mind and deep sleep is a state when body, mind and sense organs take rest. Okay. Body, mind and sense organs are existing, but they take rest. The Mulavidyavadin, the Purvapakshi, says that world is reduced into a small seed form. Though world as an expanded world is not experienced, world as an expanded state is not experienced, but it transforms into recedes, let us say, it recedes into its own shell, into its own abridged, compressed form. It recedes into its compressed form and remains a small, minute way. But Atma is not totally free from world. World is there in some form. That means you can never experience non-dual Atma. Non-dual Atma means all alone yourself. There is a world is always there in some minute form. Whereas Siddhanti says, no world whatsoever, neither minute nor in expanded form. In a bigger form or a minute form, no form, world doesn't exist, because deep sleep is all alone yourself. It is just bare yourself. Atma alone exists. Regarding this, there were some different views. So five arguments we have given in our previous class. So one more argument we give here. That last argument we were discussing, evam hi tatra paramarshaha. Now he asked, how do you say, Vedantin asked, how do you say that there is something, some prakriti, some compressed form of the world exists, some seed of the world exists in deep sleep? And he says, after coming into waking, I come to understand. After coming into waking, I come to infer. I infer that there was something of this world. This world did not disappear completely, but some rudimentary form, a bare rudimentary form remained. Okay. He says, evam hi tatra paramarshaha, swape nakinchid avedishma. He says, I didn't know anything in deep sleep. So I didn't know anything. This reference, no doubt everybody admits. Regarding deep sleep, when you are in waking, you look back to your deep sleep, you have some experience, you have some thought about it, you make some reference to it. How do you refer to your deep sleep? I didn't know anything. Okay. I didn't know anything is the way you refer to your deep sleep when you come back to deep waking. Okay. When you are in waking state, you look back to your deep sleep and then make a comment like this about deep sleep, that I didn't know anything. Okay. Now what does this I didn't know anything imply? Purvapakshi says, it is all alone, I am myself. Siddhanti says, I am alone, non-dual. Purvapakshi says, no. It doesn't mean non-duality of Atma. It shows there is something unknowable, there is something in ignorance, he says. It is a layer of ignorance. After coming into waking state, when you refer to deep sleep, you talk about it that I did not know anything. What does this I did not know anything reference? This reference in the form of I did not know anything, what does this reference imply? What is it pointing out? What is it denoting? He says it is denoting a layer of ignorance. Ignorance is a thin layer according to him. According to him, it is a thin layer, it is present, it is covering up. So therefore, you can't say it is a simple absence of knowledge. It is not an absence of knowledge. It is something, a positive, substantial layer of ignorance. It's not simply an absence of knowledge, it is a layer of ignorance. This is what Purvapakshi Mulavidya says. Okay? Then what Vedantin says will come later. Okay? What Vedantin says will come later. Before that, this is a prima facie view. That means it is a Purvapaksha. Nachayam paramarshaha kevalam jnanabhava vishayakaha. This paramarshaha, this reference to deep sleep in the form of I did not know anything, what does it refer to? What does it denote? He says, it does not denote an absence of knowledge. He says, according to him. It is his mistake, you see. It is his mistake, but let us analyze and let us see where he is going wrong. Let us understand. He says, I did not know anything in deep sleep is not an absence of knowledge. Why? Pratiyogi jnanasyapi abhavat sushuptau. He says, because any absence of knowledge, this is all very technical way of telling. These are Tarkikas. Tarkashastra way of talking this is. But anyway, let us see what he says. What he says, Purvapakshi says, any absence requires, it's a positive entity. When you say absence of what, you ask? No, it's absent. Absence of what? You have to say something. That something is absent. Something of which you are talking. Something of which you are talking of an absence. Something whose absence you are talking of is called pratiyogi in Sanskrit. Something whose absence you are talking of is called pratiyogi. In Sanskrit we call it yasya abhavaha sa pratiyogi. Tarkashastra says yasya abhavaha sa pratiyogi. Let us take an example, you will understand. Ghata abhavaha. When you say, what is in my hand? Is there a pot in my hand? You say, no. Are you sure? Yes, I am sure. There is no pot in my hand. Or let us say there is no pen in my hand, whatever. Let us take pot in my hand. That means to say that, I ask you, is there a pot in my hand? You say, no. How do you know? Because you know what is a pot. You know what is a pot. You require to have a knowledge of pot to be able to see its absence on my palm. To be able to see an absence of a pot, you should have an idea of what pot is. If you had no idea of what pot is, you would not be able to think an absence of a pot. So every absence of something requires to have an idea of that something. Every absence requires an idea of the something which is absent. Okay? This is called in Tarkashastra, yasya abhavaha sa pratiyogi. This is called pratiyogi. Now he says, in sushupti, in deep sleep, in sushupti there is no jnana bhava. In sushupti, regarding sushupti, there is a reference in waking state. I did not know anything. What does this reference, this referring statement, what does it denote? And he says, it is not an absence of knowledge, it is something, a positive layer of ignorance. See, this is peculiarly his own concept. It is a positive layer of ignorance, it is not simple absence of knowledge. Okay, pratiyogi, why? He is arguing and explaining. This is the biggest defect. Simply you look at deep sleep, there is nothing other than you, you alone are. That's all. There is simply non-dual you. You alone exist and nothing apart from you. That's what deep sleep is. So unable to understand this deep sleep properly, they are trying to give an explanation from the waking state. He is trying to give an explanation. That means he is covering up the deep sleep with some thoughts, some ideas, and not looking at the deep sleep as it is. This is the defect. The purpose of this entire book, Mulavidya, Nirasa, which we are studying, is only to show that deep sleep is a direct experience. You don't imagine, you don't speculate, you don't put any logical postulations, ideas upon in it. See, logically don't arrive at it. Why do you need logic to arrive at something which yourself, which is directly yourself? What is a matter of experience? You don't need logic to arrive at it. Do you arrive at an experience by logic? Experience is directly present. What is directly present, you don't need analysis and arriving at it through logic. He is applying logic in order to arrive at a direct experience. In that logic, he is putting lot of unnecessary ideas. That is a big defect. Now you see what he says, pratiyogi jnanasya abhavat. There is no counter entity of absence. Counter entity means the opposite of it. Whose absence we are talking of. A thing, we should have an idea of the thing, then only absence you can think of. Now jnana bhavaha, absence of knowledge. Deep sleep is not an absence of knowledge according to him, because To think of an absence of knowledge, you require an idea of knowledge. To think of an absence of knowledge, you should have an idea of knowledge. If you have an idea of knowledge, then you cannot think of its absence. When you have directly the knowledge, how can you think of an absence of it? Therefore, in deep sleep is not, see how he is logically arriving. Why don't you look at the Anubhava directly? This is what Vedanta is asking. Vedanta is asking him, why don't you look at the Anubhava directly? Why do you try to arrive at through logic? But he is trying. Let us see. How he is going wrong, let us see. He is trying to logically present that you require an idea of knowledge to be able to think of its absence. Therefore, what is there in sushupti that I don't know anything, I don't know anything. This sentence is not referring to absence of knowledge, it is referring to a positive entity. See, this is what his explanation is, unnecessary explanation. This is the big defect of him. In fact, the more will be discussed, the entire book talks of only this only. Okay, the entire book discusses from different angles. But it is the biggest defect of post-Shankarites. The Vyakhyanakaras, they made this very big defect. Made a mistake. Okay, kincha. Mamapyaham najnatavan. I think it is 1 o'clock. I am tired. I think it is already 36 minutes. As I told you, 30-35 minutes alone. We will do tomorrow anyway. Every day we are going to do. We shall continue this topic tomorrow because a few more points we have to discuss. He tries to establish, first he imagines different alternatives. He is eliminating one by one alternative and logically arriving at that sushupti is a presence of a layer of ignorance. Sushupti is nothing but a presence of a layer of ignorance. This is what he says. And Siddhanta is going to refute, that is meaningless. No layer, nothing, don't imagine, it is directly you. That's all. This is Siddhanta, this is Purvapakshi. So Purvapakshi has to say something more. We'll discuss tomorrow. Okay, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.